What's up? Yeah. So I'm back. Today I'm gonna do back-to-back YouTube videos. I'm trying my best to make sure this one's not too long, not too short. Today's the second episode of the NBA basketball series because next month will be October. And we'll be on the verge of the NBA preseason. And by the time we get to November and December, it'll be the NBA season officially. So today's episode is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers versus the LA Clippers, Allen Iverson versus Chris Paul, the 1990s versus the later part of the 2000s. Now, this is a basketball video I've been wanting to make for a very long time because I've seen other YouTubers make their arguments to which basketball player is better, Allen Iverson or Chris Paul. It's going to be Allen Iverson in his prime versus Chris Paul in his prime. Now, one can make the argument case that Chris Paul, when he was first with the New Orleans Hornets, he wasn't in his prime yet, as good as he was. And when he got with the Clippers, he most definitely was in his prime. Even though some also argued there were injuries that also followed. So let's go ahead and get into the video, shall we? Now, the Philadelphia 76ers is a basketball team that's got 50 to 60 plus years of basketball history. They've had legends, icons, greats. They've had players come in and out of that organization. You've had Wilt Chamberlain, who gave the team franchise its championship. Dr. J gave the team a championship. Moses Malone, Charles Barkley. There's so many great players that have played in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. And most in common, there's this statue that's been in movies. The Rocky statue. I know y'all remember the first Rocky film and the second Rocky film. And I know y'all remember the third Rocky film. And I know you remember Rocky 5. Yeah, that statue's in Philadelphia. So when they call it the city of brotherly love, yeah, just look north and you'll see a statue of Sylvester Stallone. It's there for all times. Now, this organization has won 3 NBA championships. But they've gone to the NBA finals like maybe 5 or 6 times, but they've won 3 NBA championship titles. Now, coming into the 1980s, early 1990s, Charles Barkley grew frustrated at the fact that they were winning basketball games, but they were having trouble trying to make it to the NBA playoffs. And by his exit, by the time we got to 1994-1995 NBA season, there was a player who had some trouble, of course, and he finally appeared in the 1996 NBA draft. And that basketball player was Allen Iverson, standing at 6 feet tall, weighed in on 165 pounds, and was a force of nature. This guy took the street basketball persona and displayed it onto the basketball court. You know, he listened to rap music, he had tattoos, he had the cornrows, he had basketball tennis shoes, Nikes, and he represented the young hip-hop generation. And of course, Commissioner David Stern at the time disapproved of Allen Iverson and some of his methods. But Allen Iverson was like a freedom fighter on the basketball court. This guy could do things that the average basketball player could not do. This guy could jump up literally from where he was standing and slam dunk on your ass. This guy could steal the basketball a total of 9 to 10 times. The guy could hit 3-pointers. He could do layups, reverse layups. He could slam dunk on you. The guy could score in all 4 quarters. Just thinking about Allen Iverson just bring back the good old days of basketball. I mean, the man could beat you in so many ways, it's not even funny. You could have blindfolded Allen Iverson 10 times, and the guy would still score in the same spot twice. In fact, some of the best games I remember of Allen Iverson was him taking on Tracy McGrady and the Orlando Magics. taking on Vince Carter and the Toronto Raptors, Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. Those were some big game matchups in the East. And then out West, he would do things out West that had people like Derek Fisher running after Allen Iverson constantly when he played against the Lakers, Sacramento Kings, back when they had Doug Christie, Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Bobby Jackson and those guys. Those were the good times of the NBA. And of course, Allen Iverson had an arch nemesis in the East, and that was Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. And every time Allen Iverson took the 76ers to the NBA playoffs, the first round, they would take out the Orlando Magics in great fashion. The second round, they probably beat up on some weak team like the Miami Heats at the time or the Atlanta Hawks. And then when they got to the third round of the Eastern Conference semifinals, they always got sent home in 5 games by a young Jermaine O'Neal, Reggie Miller, or Ron Artest before he calls himself Metta World Peace, and send them home in the NBA playoffs. Every time Allen Iverson went to the East, he would always lose to Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. Every time he played, he would always lose. Allen Iverson put up 20 points, 30 points, 40 points. Here comes Reggie Miller putting up 20 points, 30 points, 40 points. At one point, Allen Iverson put up a 45-point performance in a pivotal Game 6, and it still wasn't enough to stop Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. And when Allen Iverson was countlessly losing, it wasn't until the age of 26, going on 27 years of age, that Allen Iverson finally learned how to play basketball the right way. Finally, in the year 2001, he goes back to the first round, knocks off the Orlando Magics. Or should I say, no, the first round, he gets exactly what he wants. The Indiana Pacers. He finally knocks the Pacers out. And some, and I say some, not everyone agrees with this, some argue that at that game, at that time and place in history, Reggie Miller had passed the torch to Allen Iverson. Second round, he goes against the Toronto Raptors. And it took 7 games in an NBA series for him to take on a Vince Carter. Now, Vince Carter was half man, half amazing. He was bigger, stronger, faster. And I don't know why some people compare Vince Carter to Michael Jordan, but they try to make Vince Carter become the second coming of Michael Jordan. Allen Iverson was able to take on Vince Insanity and knock off the Toronto Raptors in 7 games. Of course, Allen Iverson got injured in the process. Finally, Allen Iverson would go to the third round, and who does Allen Iverson face? A young up-and-coming star in Ray Allen and the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, Allen Iverson gets hurt in that series. And again, it takes 7 games to knock off Ray Allen and the Milwaukee Bucks in 2001. He wins all 3 rounds and he advances to the NBA Finals. He takes on the Los Angeles Lakers, and you all know the story. He wins the first game in overtime, drops 32 points on the Lakers, steals the ball 8 times, crosses over Tyronn Lue, crosses over Derek Fisher, not afraid to go up against Shaquille O'Neal, gives Kobe Bryant the stare look. What's up? I'm AI. What y'all gonna do? And he loses the rest of that series. Makes it to the NBA Finals, but loses the rest of that series, and the series ends in 5 games. And then in 2002, he loses to Paul Pierce and the Boston Celtics in the second round in 2002. And he never makes his return back to the NBA Finals. 2003, in my opinion, was the worst season Allen Iverson ever had. He lost the most basketball games. He was hurt defensive-wise. He struggled on offense. And then in 2004, they would go back to the first round. He managed to knock off, I think, the Orlando Magic or who. I can't remember. It was either the Atlanta Falcons. That's football. The Atlanta Hawks, my bad. The Atlanta Hawks or the Bucks in the first round. They took out some weak team in the second round, and then he lost to the Detroit Pistons. You know, that Rasheed Wallace, that Ben Wallace, that Tyshawn Prince, Chauncey Phillips, that Rip Hamilton Detroit Pistons. He gets beat in 2004. Just imagine what would have happened in a Game 7 had Allen Iverson knock off the Detroit Pistons. And Allen Iverson would have gone back to the NBA Finals and would have had what they call an NBA Finals rematch against the three-time defending Los Angeles Lakers champions. But instead of seeing that matchup, we saw the Detroit Pistons and the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2004 NBA Finals. Allen Iverson was this close to going back to the NBA Finals for the second time in his NBA career. I mean, Allen Iverson had put up 49 points in that basketball game. And commentators said all Allen Iverson had to do was score 51 points in overtime and forced a second overtime, and the Pistons would have had to play another 40 minutes because couldn't nobody stop Allen Iverson. They figured out how to stop Eric Snow. They figured out how to shut down the rest of the team, but they couldn't stop Allen Iverson. But, of course, Ben Wallace blocked Allen Iverson's shot, and the buzzer went off, and he lost the game in overtime. And that was the last time Allen Iverson made an attempt to try to go back to the finals. He was that close to going back twice. Imagine an NBA Finals rematch against a dysfunctional Laker team at that, and a Allen Iverson that's now coming towards the end of his career. It would have been the perfect storybook ending. Now, in 2005, terrible season. 2006, talks of him being traded. They trade him to the Denver Nuggets. And he plays with the Denver Nuggets with Carmelo Anthony for 2 seasons. And next thing you know, we see Allen Iverson gets traded in 2008 and plays with the Detroit Pistons for a season. He doesn't look too very good. And then by 2009 or 2010, he's not even playing in the NBA. He's currently retired. And then he comes back to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. And he was supposed to finish the season and negotiate his contract, but something terrible happened and he's no longer playing in the NBA. And you see, a lot of people always wondered if had Allen Iverson had a third opportunity to go to the NBA Finals somewhere in that third try, if he had a third try, he would have won a championship. Sometimes when you think about Allen Iverson, you think of a guy that he did everything else. He won most valuable player. He won 3 NBA MVP All-Stars. He is a 2-time NBA MVP. But what you're trying to figure out is the one thing that's missing from his resume is an NBA championship. And now when you think about it, you go, as great as a basketball player as he was, and controversial too as he was, you go, I still can't believe this guy ain't never won an NBA championship, and he spent 12 or 13 seasons with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he still ain't won a title. And when he got traded to the Denver Nuggets, you kind of already knew that was like the second phase of his NBA career. And then when he got sent to the Detroit Pistons, you kind of knew he was now on the downside of his career. And when he got sent back to Philly, it was Allen Iverson, but it was not the same Allen Iverson that stole the basketball from Michael Jordan, crossed Michael over, and pulled that step back and hit a 3 on Michael Jordan. It wasn't that Allen Iverson. It was not the Allen Iverson that dropped 60 points on his own birthday. It was not the Allen Iverson that took us to the NBA Finals in 2001. And this sure was not the same Allen Iverson that almost went back to the second time, almost went back to the finals in 2004. And there's a lot of disappointment when we think about great basketball players to never win a championship. His name comes up on that list. And a lot of us feel like, as great as he should have never appeared on that list. And there's another basketball player, unfortunately, that will now be on that list. Chris Paul. When he was with the New Orleans Hornets, the guy was like another version of Allen Iverson. Everything that Allen Iverson can do, Chris Paul could do 10 times that. Chris Paul could score 20 points, 30, 40, 50 points a game if he wanted to. He had mad crossovers. Nobody could guard Chris Paul except for Kobe Bryant. That's how great of a basketball player Chris Paul was. He was so great that guys couldn't touch him. And Allen Iverson saw Chris Paul in a game and played against him towards the end of his career. And you could tell in some form or fashion, Allen Iverson kind of knew that Chris Paul was going to be the next big star. And that you could tell that Iverson knew that, yeah, this guy's got something that I don't have. And you could tell it right away. Now, when he got traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, we can consider that the prime of Chris Paul. Because we all know that if these jackass owners didn't stop whining and complaining, he would have been playing side by side with Kobe Bryant. And they didn't want to see Kobe Bryant and Chris Paul together with the Lakers. So they told him, you can go anywhere else in the NBA except for the Los Angeles Lakers. So they had to go to a team that just can't win nothing. The Los Angeles Clippers. And that's where he went. And they won basketball games. They beat basketball teams. And for a moment, it seemed like that the Clippers were better than the Lakers for a moment. They made the playoffs. They beat teams like Oklahoma City Thunder. They would beat the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks. They were able to take games into overtime. But it was all because of Chris Paul. When they beat teams like the San Antonio Spurs, the Miami Heat, when they were playing against Golden State, their rival at the time, when we had Chris Paul, we had DeAndre Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Don't hate. We had Austin Rivers. We had JJ Redick. We had Swaggy P when he was once a Clipper. We had Blake Griffin. We had Jamal Crawford. And the names go on and on and on. That team was a force to be reckoned with. But for whatever reason, and I can't put my fingers on it, they just could never get out of the third round. They got to the first round, second round, and then as soon as they got to the third round, they got sent home packing. And for 6 years, I wondered, could Chris Paul do the impossible? Could Chris Paul take this team to a place it hadn't gone before? All they had to do was knock off a Golden State team, and they could have advanced to the NBA Finals first time ever. Didn't happen. Chris Paul goes down with an injury. I thought he was going to do it against OKC. Goes down again with an injury. 2 years in a row goes down with an injury. Then we get to the worst part about it. He gets traded and sent to the Houston Rockets. And again, he had a chance to take on Golden State, 7 games, but he gets injured in game 6. And it seems like every time there's a game 6, Chris Paul goes on this 45, 50-point game performance, and then he's just injured. And it has to make you wonder, is Chris Paul the second coming of Allen Iverson? The only difference between Allen Iverson is that he went to the NBA Finals once. He had a chance to go 2 more times. Chris Paul could never get out of the first round in his career for 10 years. He couldn't get out of the first round. But he does it when he goes to the Clippers. He gets out of the first round. He gets out of the second round with the Clippers. But when he goes to the Houston Rockets, he goes to the first round, second round. He gets to the third round, and he goes down with an injury. Now, people got to ask, which basketball team's better? Now, if we take the 76ers from the 1996 all the way to the 2001, that version of that team would probably be forced to play 7 games against the Clippers if it was an NBA Final Series. if we go back into a time machine and we took that version of Allen Iverson in his prime and we took the Chris Paul that's in his prime from the time of him being traded from New Orleans to the Clippers and put them in their primes respectively, we're going to see a series that lasts for 7 games. Now, which team's better? Now, offensive and matchup physical wise, I probably say it's the Clippers. They'll probably beat up on the 76ers all day. But talent and one-on-one and matchup one-on-one wise, who's better? Allen Iverson or Chris Paul? Now, I would say by a slight landslide, by a slight hair, Allen Iverson's just a little bit better than Chris Paul. And it ain't just because he went to the NBA Finals once and almost went back twice. It's because even when Allen Iverson gets seriously injured, he can play basketball games while injured. Chris Paul plays injured, but Chris Paul's injury is so severe that the guy plays so many minutes that when it's time to recover, he isn't 100%. And Allen Iverson had games where he weren't 100%, but he still went out there and won the basketball games. And then the next game still was ready to play. So I would say Allen Iverson's better than Chris Paul by a slight hair. Now, that might change if he can somehow stay healthy, and I'm talking about Chris Paul. So I made this video, and I hope you like it. And next time, it'll be Reggie Miller versus Ray Allen in his prime. Until then, peace.